know when the weather will get wild? There is. Meteorologists study and predict weather. They use tools, too, to help them. Weather tools? Sunny asked. Like what? They have instruments to measure wind speed and direction, Chuck explained, and radar to track rain and thunderstorms. Meteorologists even use satellites in outer space to track how and where the clouds move. So, we're going to talk more about weather tools today and tomorrow. And we're even going to use weather tools to help tell us the weather. We're going to become meteorologists. But meteorologists are who tell us. They use the tools to help predict. Remember, predict means to guess what the weather is going to be like. So why do meteorologists use satellites? It says meteorologists even use satellites. Why do they use satellites? Why do they use satellites? Everyone read that last sentence on page 113. Why do they use satellites? Isaiah, we're not on that page yet. Yes, they use satellites because it shows them pictures of the earth and they can see where the clouds are moving. And it helps them predict where bad weather and good weather is going to be. All right, next page. Sunny shivered. His papery body was growing cold. Natasha is lost, and it will snow any day now, Chuck quacked sadly. So what's the deal with snow? It's a bit different than hail. The water vapor turns into an ice crystal. So it's not ice, not solid ice. It's heavy like an ice cube that falls. It's ice crystals. The ice crystals cling to other crystals and form a snowflake. So that's why they're light and fluffy. They're not solid ice. They're just a bunch of ice crystals together. That doesn't sound so bad, Sunny said. If the ground and air are cold enough, the snowflakes pile up and cover the ground, Chuck quacked. The lakes freeze, and it's tough for birds like us to find food. Oh, so that's why you fly south. It's not just because it's getting cold, it's because they have to have food to eat. And if everything's frozen, they can't find food. Okay, let's go to the next page. I'm not flying south without my wife, Natasha, Chuck quacked. Where are you? How's the weather down south? It's much warmer, but the weather can get wild there too. What do you mean? Sunny asks. Heat is measured in temperature, Chuck explained. When the air is hot, the temperature is high. A low temperature means it's cold. So when the numbers go up, it's hot. When they go down, it gets colder. That makes sense, Sunny said. Too much heat can hurt people, plants, even animals, Chuck quacked. During a heat wave, the temperature and humidity stay high for 2 or more days. I wouldn't want to be stuck in one of those, Sunny said. Okay, so we'll read that last part here in a minute. Why doesn't Chuck know where Natasha is? Why doesn't Chuck know where Natasha is? Where is she? Why does he not know where she is, Sydney? She is what? She's lost. She's missing. So this picture and text tell me that Chuck is still looking for her, right? He said, where are you, Natasha? He will not fly south without her. So he's going to keep looking for her until he finds her. So why do you think Chuck says that weather in the south can get wild? What does weather get in the warmer place he's going? Why does it get wild there? What can there be that's dangerous? What can hurt him? The hot, which is heat. And we call it a special thing. We call it a heat wave. Yes, a heat wave is when the temperatures stay high for 2 or more days. So it says, where was the worst heat wave on record? That would be down under. The temperature in Marble Bar, Australia, was over 100 degrees Fahrenheit for 160 days in a row in 1923. Hot days, mate. So over 160 days, it was over 100. We barely get over 100 in our summer. And it's hot in our summer, isn't it? There's only a few days in the summer where it's over 100. Occasionally we get a heat wave and it lasts for a few days, but never 160 days. That's like almost half a year it was over 100 degrees.
Probably in the desert.
I bet a lot of animals and plants died. Yes, in the desert. But the desert isn't humid. Humid means that it's real sticky outside. We get humid in Texas, but the desert's really dry. So it doesn't have a lot of water in it. So it doesn't get so humid there. Where is Natasha? She couldn't have just disappeared. What happened to those trees? So he sees some trees that are falling down. He says, a tornado came through here years ago, Chuck said. What's a tornado? Sonny asked. It's a funnel of wind that forms in the sky and wrecks what it touches on the ground, Chuck said. Tornadoes form during a thunderstorm. They are more likely to occur over flat land. So funnel, tornado's a funnel. See how it's bigger on top and smaller on bottom? And its circle is curved. That's right. That makes a funnel. You're right. It has to be curved. Not everything that's bigger on top and smaller on bottom is a funnel. It has to be curved. It has to be cylinder type. And occur means where it happened. So it's more likely to happen over flat land. That's why we have so many tornadoes here, is because we are mostly flat land. When the wind in a storm changes directions, increases speeds, and rises, it makes the air below it spin. Rising air pushes the spinning column of air downward until it's vertical. The spinning funnel of air speeds up, forming a tornado. Tornadoes are usually determined to be weak, strong, or violent. The violent ones can have winds in excess that means more than 200 miles per hour. That's 3 times as fast as your car goes down Highway 82. They can destroy homes. Only 2% of tornadoes are violent. So there's only just a few of them that are very violent. Most of them are weak or just a little bit strong. Not many of them are violent, to where they destroy a lot of things. I had no idea weather could be so scary, Sonny said. That's nothing. My cousin Frank almost got caught in a hurricane once. A hurricane? I'm afraid to ask. Why is he afraid to ask about hurricanes? Why is he afraid to ask, Cooper? He doesn't want to get anyone, but he's already heard a lot about wild weather, right? He's like, oh my gosh, there's more wild weather? That's what he's thinking. A hurricane forms in summer or fall, Chuck said. It forms over an ocean and it moves onto land. So we won't really see a hurricane here in Lindsay because we're not very close to the ocean, right? But if you go down to Houston and Galveston in South Texas, they are close to the ocean. So they will sometimes have hurricanes come on. So they're on the water and then they come onto the land. Does it make lots of wind like a tornado? Asked Sonny. Yes, strong winds rotate around. So they spin too. The eye of the storm. So if you look right here, this picture, this thing in the middle is called the eye. And then all the clouds and rain swirl around the eye, but they are much, much bigger than a tornado. They are hundreds of miles sometimes bigger than a tornado. The spinning storm picks up energy from the warmth of the ocean, and when it hits land, high winds and heavy rain can damage buildings. The eye of a hurricane is the spot in the center of the storm. In the eye, the winds are calm. There's hardly any winds, and the clouds break up and rain ends as the sky clears. But if you're in the middle of the eye, is the storm over? No, because it's passed through this, but it's still got all this to go yet. It's just the middle of it. It's just the middle of it. So turn to the next page. Wow, all that dangerous weather scares me, said Sonny. Here's the thing, Sonny, Chuck said. We can't control weather. But meteorologists can warn everyone when dangerous weather is coming, and we can prepare for it. Hey, Chuck, is that your wife? It is. Where were you, Natasha? I went back for my sunglasses. I can't fly south without them. Come with us, Sonny, Chuck said. I'd love to, Sonny said. But can I get some of those cool sunny glasses too? So she went back to get her sunglasses. So, why do you think that the author wrote this as a narrative nonfiction? Why didn't he just tell us about weather? Do you think it's more fun that he told it in a story? Yeah, I think so too. So we have characters. We have this real duck and his wife, and we have this paper bird. But is it really a real duck? No, because it what? Talks. So it's not really, but it's more real than the paper bird, right? But they both talk. And it's a story about, the whole story is, the problem of the story is he lost his wife, right? But it's not a fictional story because we're learning more than what it is a story. They're telling us lots of facts. We learned a lot about weather and wild weather in this story.